Guys, it's your girl, Ashley Kirkwood with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, where we teach you how to start at the top of the speaking market instead of working your way up from the bottom. During this show, you will hear solo episodes from me, where I'll show you how I have landed and negotiated 5- and 6-figure speaking contracts and licensing deals. You'll also hear from our amazing guests who have grown enormous speaking businesses by utilizing sales and marketing principles that work. If you want to grow your speaking business, listen to this podcast, and then afterwards, head on over to ashleynicolekirkwood.shop and grab my book, Speak Your Way to Cash, How to Start at the Top of the Speaking Market Instead of Working Your Way Up from the Bottom. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Hey, y'all. What's up to the Speak Your Way to Cash family? It's Ashley Kirkwood back again with another podcast episode. But this time, guys, I am actually going to let you listen in to a live video that I recorded. Now, if you're listening to this live video on the podcast and you're like, I want to join your next live, I want to ask you questions, I want to be able to get feedback about my business, then you have to follow me on Instagram at The Ashley Nicole Show, and make sure you're following the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook page, all right? Make sure you're following the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook page because that's where I go live. I also sometimes go live in the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group, but enough about that. Even though you may have missed it live, you're about to hear it again. So listen into this live episode and let me know what you think. You can always send me an email to ashley@speakyourwaytocash.com. Let's listen in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. I'm so excited to have Dr. Delatorro with us today. He's going to be sharing about how he built his speaking and author empire. I'm so excited to hear from him. He's been on The Today Show, written several best-selling books, which have been nationally recognized. And we're going to have a good time today, y'all. So if you all have any questions and you're watching this live, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you're listening to the podcast and you're like, oh my goodness, I want to learn more about him, we will be posting the links to all of his information. So welcome, Dr. Delatorro. How are you?
I am really, really pumped. I'm excited. Ashley, this is a great opportunity. Look forward to rock and rolling.
Yes, same. So how did you get started as a motivational speaker? What was the journey that brought you to this point?
That's a fantastic question. People ask me that question all the time, right? And it's a quick answer, but it's not a quick answer. So I'm going to make it as quick as possible. So born and raised in the church, born and raised in Tampa, Florida. I'm a Tampa native. I'm still in Tampa now. I've lived in other parts of the country and I've traveled literally all over the world, given over 4,000 paid talks all over the planet over the last 19 years that I've been full-time as a speaker. And it's amazing because I'm 44 years young. So I pinch myself every morning because I can't believe I've had a chance to be in this industry for 2 decades. It's unbelievable. But I was raised in the church and I never felt the call that I was supposed to pastor. But I knew I had a gift to speak. My mom was a Sunday school teacher and an English teacher. So if you were going to be Olivia's kid, you had to be able to talk. So from the time I was 4, 5, and 6, I was getting the longest parts in the Easter play, Christmas play. I had to play Jesus, Moses, Abraham, everything, right? So grew up in the church and I had this gift to speak, but I knew I didn't feel like I was supposed to pastor. So I was like, okay, what do I do with this gift? So I began to get involved in Toastmasters. Even in college, I went to Florida State University. I got a bachelor's and master's, 2 degrees in 5 years with a 4.0 and no debt. And so I realized in college that I had a special gift of leadership and I had a special gift of speaking and communication. And so my mentor in college was a guy by the name of Dr. Lee Jones. And at that time, he was the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at the College of Education. He was African-American gentleman. He was short. He wore a suit and a bow tie every single day. And I'm like, he was a speaker and he was also a professor at the university. So I was like, man, I need to do whatever it takes to stay under Dr. Jones. And so he groomed me the 5 years that I was in college and really kind of started setting me on the path long before Dr. Willie Jolly showed up, long before Dr. Maya Angelou showed up, long before Bishop T.D. Jakes and Les Brown and Zig Ziglar, who have been mentors for me in my career. Long before they showed up, Dr. Lee Jones, I have to say, I keep a picture of him in my office because he was the guy that groomed me while I was in college, Ashley, to really begin to start to see that it was possible that I could be a speaker and not a preacher and begin to start to pursue the industry. So that's kind of how I got the start.
Nice. And what did it look like for you do you remember your first paid engagement? What was that like? How did that come about? And just tell us about that experience, because I always find that story interesting.
Yeah. So for me, paid speeches started in college, actually, because I was being groomed by Dr. Jones. He would take me everywhere with him when he would give speeches and presentations. And so I would see how he did his thing. And then every time there were opportunities that necessarily he couldn't take and they were looking for a younger speaker or whatever, he would refer them to me. So I was actually getting paid to speak even while I was in college, which was pretty cool. But I remember when I got out of college and I took my first cushy corporate job in corporate America, I thought I was going to work in corporate America 10, 15 years. And then in my mid 30s, slowly transitioned into the speaker thing, right? And that's not what God had planned for me at all. I worked in corporate America for 1 year, and then I got laid off and went from 50 grand to nothing in a day, basically. And I'm like, whoa, what am I going to do? I have this dream. I have this call. I really want to help people, but how am I going to make it happen? And so I remember at that point, Les Brown was coming into town and he was doing a boot camp. And so I went to the boot camp and it was like $5,000. And I didn't have it. I just finished college. I'm like, who's got five? And I just got laid off from my cushy corporate job. But isn't it amazing how sometimes the best opportunities to grow can come at what we would think the most inconvenient times. And so actually what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to invest in this boot camp. I learned some powerful principles that I needed to do to position myself and start marketing myself, got back to town, started marketing myself, and I got my first paid speaking engagement as a result of Toastmasters. Watch this. So left the boot camp. I'm speaking at my Toastmasters club, and there was a member of my Toastmasters club who was a member of a corporation, financial institution. He heard me. He said, "You're awesome. Will you come to our Toastmasters club on our corporate campus and give that same talk?" I did. People that was over HR loved it. And they said, "Hey, listen, we're kind of on a budget freeze right now. We only have $7,500, but would you be our keynote speaker for our function coming up next month?" I was like, only $7,500. That was more money than I had made in like 3 months working in corporate America, like for like an hour talk. And that's when I knew, I'm like, okay, this is really legit. This is really legit. But the reason why I tell that story and the reason why I tell it in that sequence is to teach speakers something powerful. And that's this. Everybody wants to make the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 an hour speeches. But it amazes me, Ashley, how few people are willing to invest to learn the craft and to learn the business so that they can charge what they really want to charge and really are worthy to be able to actually command those fees and get them consistently. Now, you're worthy interpersonally now. I'm talking about paying your dues and learning the business and learning the industry so that you can actually maintain what you attain as you get those fees in the brand.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we talk a lot about most of our clients that we work with in Speaker Ready Cash are highly educated, highly credentialed. They've earned their stripes in corporate America and or educationally, and they're busy. Yeah. So most of our speakers are starting, at the $10,000 to $15,000 level or coming into corporate with packages. But if you're going to I think there's a big difference between keynoting and doing workshops. Exactly. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this because I think that there are some people who are great speakers. They're phenomenal orators. They can keynote. That's a different energy than packaging your expertise and selling a corporate package. You don't necessarily need to be skilled to sell a corporate package at orating and presenting and being enthusiastic. But it sounds like you're a keynote presenter. Is that right?
So, yeah, I've spent the majority of my career as a keynote speaker, correct. However, my master's degree is in training and development and curriculum design. So I came into the speaking industry with a curriculum design mindset. So everything I think about it from a curriculum design perspective. So 3 points in a poem doesn't make any sense to me because I think learning objectives, I think outcomes, I think how does the audience get the most out of the experience. So I'm a very experiential presenter. I like my audience to experience the presentation versus just kind of sit there and listen and take notes. So I'm really, really big into that. And that's really what's important to me. But I totally agree. I think there's a massive difference. And one of the things when I train speakers, I help them understand the different ways you can do this industry. Because you can do the industry in so many different ways. You don't have to just be a keynoter. You can be a social media influencer. You can be a podcaster, right? You can be a blogger. You can be you could be a trainer. You could be a facilitator. You could be an event promoter. Tony Robbins is the biggest event promoter on the planet, right? He's not trying to do keynotes, right? He's not necessarily trying to do government contracting. He wants you to come spend 5 days with him with 180 people, 180 countries, 10, 15, 20,000 people. So his model is more of an event model. So it's like, you got to get clear about what your model is and what your lane is. And like you said, Ashley, be clear about what your energy is. I know a lot of people who have more of a coaching energy. I'm like, you're going to struggle as a keynoter because you're used to like that one-on-one kind of one client at a time deal. That's more of a coach energy than it is on stage, having the energy, having the charisma to carry a room of 5,000 people. Totally different energy. I agree with you 6,000%, sis.
Yeah, no, so it's a different energy. So I think what I love about what you said is there's space for everyone, and that you can look at the energy, you can look at the industry expansively and figure out where your personality, skill set, education, and expertise places you to be most profitable. One of the things I wonder, because you've been in the industry for about almost we're going to give it 2 decades. Okay. So 2 decades in the industry. How did you go from, all right, I got this $7,500 speech. This is incredible. Like, they think it's not a lot of money, but this is really good, to I am doing this consistently. How did you, or when did you in your speaking career solidify your business model, develop your sales and marketing plan, and really start to see consistent results?
So that's a great question. So I'll be very honest with you. I tell every audience this, that $7,500, that was a one-off. I was not even really like, I was like, dude, what, right? But I wasn't able to sustain in the corporate space there because, to be honest with you, 2 things. Number one, I still doubted myself because I was so young. I was like 22. So I still doubted myself, number one. Number 2, I didn't have enough command of the corporate space to really fully be able to walk in there and say, okay, yeah, give me $7,500 every time I open my mouth. So what my mentors had encouraged me to do was pick a niche and grow rich. So at that particular point in time, I had crushed it in college. And so I remember going to my first NSA convention. And at the NSA convention, I met so many amazing people. And I've been a 15 plus year member of the NSA. And I'm the youngest CSP on the planet. CSP stands for Certified Speaking Professional, which is the highest international earned designation for professional speaking excellence. I earned it at the age of 33. The only thing higher than, and I'm 44 now, so I've had it for about 11 years, and I've mentored about 7 people who are now CSPs. The only thing that's higher than the CSP is what's called the Speaker Hall of Fame, and you can't earn it. It's got to be bestowed upon you by the people that are already in it. So I'm looking forward to that any day now, any year now, right? But what helped me solidify my business model was that whole conversation of picking a niche and grow rich. Because I was so young and I'd done so well in college, Mark Victor Hansen came up to me one day at the NSA conference, and he was like, young man, he said, what do you really want to talk about? And I said, well, and I started telling him, and he said, well, listen, what have you done a good job at in your life? What is your life an example of? And I said, well, I did a pretty good job in college. And he said, how good? And I told him, he was like, man, you should go around the country teaching students how to do what you did in school. And so I was like, okay, so how do I break into colleges? And he said, well, you need to go sit and learn from my buddy, James. And so I went to a speaker boot camp, a how to speak at colleges, speaker boot camp in Vegas, put on by a guy by the name of James Malinchak. And I learned the college market, and I learned the sales and marketing behind the college market. So the first 6 years of my speaking career, and it's been 2 decades, 19 years full time, but I was 3 years part time heading into full time. So I've totally been in the industry 20 years all together easily. But so I went to the boot camp and got everything that I needed to start. And so I spent the first 6 years speaking at colleges and universities, going to college conferences, going to NACA, going to APCA. I did the whole circuit. I spoke for HBCUs, Greek conferences, I'm not Greek. I didn't even go to a HBCU, right? But I went to Florida State. But I ended up getting in all these doors because the energy, the content, everything else was really powerful. So as I was doing the college scene for 6 years, then I started building a name for myself. And then my publishing, my books started to open up other doors for me and getting me into more corporate spaces, more business spaces. The faith-based space opened up to me because I got on TBN and Daystar and all. So television was also another big part of my success and my ascension, because when I teach speakers this in my programs, I'm like, listen, you need media. And I built my career before, right? But so the only thing that was out when I got started was MySpace. Actually, that seems insane, right? But that was the only thing that was out when I was first getting rolling. So, I remember speaking at colleges and universities when Facebook had just gotten started and it was only available for college students. I remember those days. So it's funny because, I've had a thriving career before social media and a very thriving career with social media. So I know what it's like to market and sell in both environments. So the college market is what taught me how to sell and taught me how to market. And it taught me how to be very, very passionate, because if you're going to inspire college students, you got to bring the energy, you got to bring the charisma. So by the time I got to corporate spaces, they were like, who is this dude with all this energy? This is incredible. And I didn't back down. I didn't throttle down off the energy because I was speaking to a corporate group. I made them come up to my level. And so it was really, really cool. And so I enjoyed that. So that was my sales and marketing deep end was the college market.
Okay, I love that. So for those of you who don't know, NSA is the National Speakers Association. APCA, NACA, NODA, and some of the other organizations that he mentioned, they're associations, which means they're where groups of people go who are student like a group of academic advisors may go to a particular conference and get knowledge, and speakers can pay to speak on those platforms as a business development opportunity. The amount you pay varies, but it's typically in the thousands. And you also have to be a member. The membership is typically low cost. So research some of those things. We have other episodes that cover that, but that is basically it. So if you're new, you're like, what's NSA, what's APCA, what's NACA? These are all things that you can Google. They're just associations where groups of your ideal clients may be in the room, depending on who you sell to. And that same model is what you also would do for corporations. You can go to events where your ideal clients congregate. One of the things to notice, though, if you're a new speaker, and I don't know if you dealt with this, you have to find the balance between how much I'm going to invest in going to these conferences and doing this marketing and the payout. Because I have literally gone to what was it? It was like an APCA conference. And there was someone there who was like, look, Ashley, this got to hit. Like, I need to get booked today in order to pay my way home. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, who taught you this? This is not the way to do it, because it costs serious capital to go to those conferences and invest and exhibit. Yeah. And then you need to be exceptional because you're going into a space where everyone does what you do.
Exactly. Yep.
And they want a discount, in my experience. So, that's why I'm kind of like, on the conference, like, it can work really good, especially if you know your craft, you know your conversion numbers, you know how many people will be there and who's coming and who has the budget. But when you're just starting out, you need to have a diversified marketing strategy so that you don't spend all of your money, put all your eggs in one basket, and it doesn't pan out. So
absolutely.
Can you kind of talk to that? Like, did you have any experiences where you put a lot of eggs in one basket to market in a particular way and you learned a lesson from it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, scripture says, cast your bread upon many waters, because you never know which one is going to prosper, this or that, right? Yeah. And so I'm a big believer in having several irons in the fire. I'm a big believer in multiple streams of income. I'm a big believer in what I like to call the bicycle spoke concept, which is, if you're trying to achieve one goal, there's 5 different things you need to be doing in order to work towards that one singular thing. I don't believe that you should do any one tactic to achieve anything, whether it's sales, marketing, whatever your monthly income goal, you need to have 5 to 7 different ways that you can hit that number, right? How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So for me, that's always been my mindset. But however, I know exactly what you're talking about, because you'll invest a good $3,000 to $5,000 going to one of those conferences to really figure out the lay of the land. So the first time I just went as an observer. I was still working my full-time job. And I just went for one day and I said, okay, let me take notes. Let me see who the best speakers are. Let me see what the best booth looks like. Let me see what
so smart.
I went to study the model. I was like, okay, how do I do this before I go invest all this money? Let me see and then I would sit in on their breakout sessions and I would see how they promoted, and I would figure out, okay, what is the average fee that a speaker is commanding, blah, blah, blah. What is block booking? What does all that mean? Yeah. So I had to understand all that stuff first. And then I said, okay, let me come back, get my coins together and say, okay, now if I'm going to go and do this, I need to make sure that I stand out. So how does your message stand out? How does your marketing stand out? What is your unique selling proposition? If they book you versus another speaker, what are you offering them that's going to give them that competitive advantage, right? So those are all the things that I went into and said, okay, hey, and again, when I was in the college market, I still had my job. So one of the books that I wrote that was a runaway bestseller was called Caught Between a Dream and a Job: How to Leave the 9 to 5 Behind and Step into the Life You've Always Wanted. In that book, I teach my exact transition strategy that took me out of my corporate job and into my speaking career full time. And so one of the first things that I teach speakers is that you got to get clear about it. If you're trying to leave your job or whatever, and pursue a speaking dream, you got to get clear about how much money you're trying to replace. That's the number one question that I ask people. And they're shocked that I ask them a dollars question right up front. I'm like, okay, how much money are we trying to replace? 80 grand, 40 grand, 30 grand, 125 grand? Okay, cool. So based upon that number, all right, what's your hustle look like? Are you committed to putting as much into your speaking aspirations as you did into your corporate aspirations? Or more into your military aspirations or your ministry aspirations or all these other. And actually, that's one of the challenges that I see. Everybody wants to make this straight lateral move over. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't always go quite like that, because at the end of the day, you pay dues. You were up early mornings and late nights to get to where you are in this space. it doesn't 100% translate over, into this space 100%. You might have to take a couple steps down and then climb those steps back up over on this side over here to have the credibility and respect and command. If you want longevity, you can get a couple hits.
If you want longevity,
yes. You got to really be willing to say, okay, I'm going to go after this and go all the way after this. And that's what I think is going to be really most important. So for me, that's what was big. You really, what they say, no man builds a building without counting the cost. So you got to say, okay, if I'm going to invest $4,000 to go to this conference, how many gigs do I need out of this conference? Understanding that those gigs might not pay out for 3 to 6 months.
Yes. Or you may, like we've gone to conferences and we don't do, so now since we really focus a lot on our corporate audience, we're trying to go to conferences where we're paid to speak at them on the national level for the association. And so I'm basically paid to market. So I like to do that. However, in the college market, what I will tell you guys is we've gone to several conferences, primarily for APCA. And sometimes we made such great relationships. They didn't pan out within 3 months then, but within a year's time, they paid out in a magnificent way. So it's like you have to have enough money to sustain the marketing efforts that you're going after.
That's right.
So for me, I didn't get and it's such a blessing because I remember going to a conference. They were like, well, you do it for $5,000. Well, we like to stay within the 10 to 25,000 range on the lower end of our contract. So I couldn't do it for $5,000, but we kept in contact. That one client ended up being a $10,000 to $15,000 client.
That's it.
Like immediately, the first engagement was like 12.5. And then we're in negotiation for several other contracts after that initial engagement. So I say that to say you all can go, these conferences can be an amazing place to go to build relationships. They can also be a great place to go to get business. But what I see as a huge issue, and you coach speakers, so you probably see this too, is everyone wants the fast money. But it's like, why not forego the $10K now for the $1 million later or for the $100,000 later? And I don't see a lot of people having the stick-to-itness and resilience that it takes to really get the higher level engagements. Because you're right, like everyone wants $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 engagements, but is everyone willing to invest the time, money up front to wait until that pays out? And it takes time, guys. I know that's not popular for people who market to speakers because everyone's like, make money in 2 days, but it takes time.
Well, and see, now you're barking up a tree because I'm just saying for me, right? So I think you got to be really careful who you learn from in this industry because, it used to be get rich in real estate. Now it's get rich in speaking. And there's a million people out there swearing that they're speaker trainers. There's a million people out there swearing that they can, and 80% of them don't even speak.
Right.
They don't even do it for a living, nor do they ever do it for a living. They're just great marketers. And so I'm sure you and I both run into those people who've overinvested with the wrong brands because those people really could not train. They couldn't translate the skill. I say, listen, some of y'all have gotten wowed and duped by going to these conferences and events, and you run to the back of the room because these people know good persuasion skills. You sign up for a $25,000, $30,000 coaching program, and that person can't even translate the skill.
Well, that goes to what you talked about earlier, instructional design and development.
Yeah.
So it's not just about can you do it, but can you put it into a container that others can learn from? And will it translate to diverse learning styles?
Exactly.
So one of the big things that we've worked with, I've hired instructional designers. I work with instructional designers. I was also I taught a class at Northwestern Law School where I graduated from. And so I've developed curriculum and syllabi and all of that at a high level in academia. Yeah. But one of the things that I find so interesting is if you're not naturally skilled at that as a coach, it doesn't mean you're not a great coach, but it does mean hire instructional designers to translate your knowledge in a way that people can glean from. And they need something that can pay off well after they're outside of your coaching program. Absolutely. Like that's the other thing I see is like, I am big on people not becoming too reliant on me. I don't want to be your idol, your God, or your bottleneck. I want to teach you a way to think so that when you leave my program, you know how to reason for yourself.
Come on.
That is the goal. It's not like, what does Ashley think? No, it's like, what do you think based on the principles you've learned that have built a sustainable practice of mine? Because I left the $300,000 job. So I couldn't be just, we had a lot to replace, as you said earlier.
Yes.
In a very particular way.
Exactly.
In order to get that done. But I love what you're saying because it's unfortunate that people will think that they can get everything for a very nominal investment. And the money you pay is not the big deal. That's not even the work.
Yeah.
That's going to be the easiest part of the transformation you're going to get.
I'm trying to tell you. I love what Les Brown says. He says, the easiest thing I ever did was make $30 million speaking. He said, the hardest thing I ever did was believe it was possible for me.
Yes. But yes.
Yeah, man. So it's the us work, and we have to really contend with who we are and really be okay and learn how to sit in the fact that you don't have to be perfect. I say this all the time. You're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the exact same time.
Yes.
You're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the exact same time. But understand, y'all, this is a very lucrative industry, but you want to do this industry with what I like to call ethics, excellence, and integrity. Scripture says you want your name shall be great, and your name is worth more than rubies. So you want a strong name. When people say your name, what other words do they put along with it? Do they put excellence with it? Do they put integrity with it? Do they put over delivered with it?
Right.
Do they put consistent with it, right? So you want to develop a strong name because people are buying you before they buy your boot camp, your retreat, your conference, your book, your podcast. They're buying you, right? At the end of the day, they want to slither a slice of you to take home with them. And I love, Ashley, what you said, making sure that we're offering various slices of ourselves through our programs so that we as an individual are never the bottleneck. And I like to say it like this. Listen, my goal is to kick the branch out from under you, right? I tell my students this, my goal is to kick the branch out from under you so you ain't got no choice but to fly, and I'm going to see you in the sky because eagles stay in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is that your mindset can hold you back before your mastery will. And a lot of the clients that I work with are brilliant. Like, I know they're brilliant because I only, like, when all my messaging is like, if you are a highly experienced professional, because I'm also not the speaking coach for people who are like, I don't have an expertise, I just want to make some money. Like, because we talk a lot about corporate and collegiate and long-term strategies, we only work with people who are brilliant and excellent and exceptional, whether they know it yet or not. So for me, that mastery piece can be really easy because if you went to college, you got the corporate job, you know that in college, if you study a particular way, you can get the grades. It's almost guaranteed, like, once you have that. And so I feel like it can be really challenging when you come into entrepreneurship and it's like, man, here's another truth that people typically don't tell y'all who sell to speakers. It is here. The Speak Your Way to Cash book is now available for you to purchase. Go to Amazon to get your audio, Kindle, or hardcover copy of the book. And we have a paperback copy, okay? So you can get it on Audible and listen to it. And I read it myself. So if you love the podcast, you will love the audiobook. Go get it now. Speak Your Way to Cash, how to start at the top of the speaking market instead of working your way up from the bottom. A bit about the book. It's broken down into 6 parts, and it is over 260 pages of goodness, okay? Part 1 covers mindset. Part 2 covers getting yourself in the press. Part 3 covers assembling your 6-figure offer. Part 4 covers inviting people to work with you, sales. Part 5 covers delivering an outstanding speech. And Part 6 covers legalities that every speaker needs and how to build a team. I mean, literally, what did we leave out? Nothing. So go to Amazon and grab your copy today. And let me know you did it too. You could do everything right and still get a result that you feel is wrong. Like,
are you kidding me? I mean, you can kill it on a keynote stage and have horrible product sales. You can crush a webinar and get nobody to actually enroll in your program. I mean, that's a part of the cutting your teeth and paying your dues and rinsing and repeating until you get this process right.
Iteration.
So, absolutely. But that's why I love something that Zig taught me a long time ago. Zig Ziglar said, always outperform your paycheck. He said, because if you do more than you're paid to do, the day will come when you're paid more for what you do. And that really impacted me. He said, always outperform your paycheck. I want to rewind. He said, if you do more than you're paid to do, the day will come when you're paid more for what you do.
Yes.
And one of the things that Dr. Maya Angelou always taught me, she said, baby, always make your audience feel special, feel good, and feel as if they have just had one of the greatest experiences of their life. She said, because people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you did, but they won't forget the way you made them feel.
So true.
He said, so I get so much just recounting what she told me. So she always taught me to hug my audience. She said, hug your audience with your words. Come on, somebody. I mean, and these are things that I've held on to. And so I believe in mentorship. The reason why I mentor and coach speakers is because mentoring is what got me where I'm at. I didn't sit at a university and learn this. I learned instructional design from the university, but I had to apply instructional design to this industry. And I was able to apply it in this industry. And I think that's one of the things that I know, that's one of the things that set me apart from so many other speakers, is just that commitment to content. You're not going to get just a rah-rah speech with me on stage. You're going to experience the keynote, but you're going to take a hand-hurting amount of notes in my session that you'll be able to actionably execute when you leave.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, if people cannot execute on your content, what was the point? I say this to speakers all the time, Ashley, and I think it's really important to mention here. I say your live presentation better be better than Google.
Right.
I can Google motivation today. I can Google inspiration today. So why do I need to hire you? At the end of the day, your live talk better be better than Google. And that might feel like a tall order, but it's the truth. And I say this, I say, listen, marketing is very economical today. I said, so don't let your marketing take you where your live talk cannot sustain you. Because some of us outmarket our own gift. And you got good graphic design, you got good marketing, but your live talk is whack. And so you're putting glaze on stale donuts. I'll wait.
But the market will weed that out because you can't repeat business. And the business isn't built on your first client. It's sustained by the fact that your clients continue to come back. So you don't want to just get excited about the initial engagement. You have to have a sustainable, repeatable referral system where they're giving you new clients and where they're coming back. Like, I don't want to lose a client ever. You know what I mean? Like, I want to keep working with you consistently over time. And then when you go to your new college or corporation, I want you to call me then. And I want to know when you have kids. I want to know, like, that is where sustainable business is built. But again, that takes time. So it's unpopular to talk about. It's just easier to say, like, get your first 3K gig in 5 days. But the people I know who are always chasing after the first fast thing are typically not sustaining over time. So for me, it's like, it's cool to get my first 5K gig, but if I can't sustain that, it would have been better for me to wait a year, get a 10K gig that converts into a 6K contract. Like, it just would have been better. So I love what you're talking about. And for everyone listening, I want you all to note something that he has demonstrated throughout this interview. I want to make sure y'all are picking up on it, okay? He is quoted several mindset masters throughout the course of this interview. And of course, he himself has a level of mastery that he also has been able to pull from his books and from everything else. Your mindset is the most critical element to whether or not you'll be successful. And another thing, every time he's talked about a failure, because I don't know if you probably do this all the time, so you may not even know this, but every time he's talked about a failure during the course of this interview, he has had an introspective view of what he could have done better in that situation versus blaming something external. I point this out because I want you all to not just look at what people have produced in their life, but look at what they do, look at what they don't do, look at how they discuss situations where other people could have used as an excuse to quit. If you don't have resilience, that money you want to make is not going to happen. It's just not. If you are 100% controlled by your feelings, you will fail. That's right. Like, because feelings are fickle. You can't always trust them. That's why you need things like faith, perseverance, resilience, intuition, dedication,
accountability, masterminds. Exactly. You need all of that. Yep. You're so right. And thank you for that observation, Ashley, because that's essential. And it's important that I say this all the time. You need to draw from a deep well. Yes. You need to have a deep well of a prepared person is better than a prepared presentation. Yes. Everybody write that down. A prepared person is way better than a prepared presentation. Here's why. At the end of the day, your audience wants your presence, whether it's virtual or live, 1-to-1, 1-to-10, 1-to-10,000, 1-to-1,000,000. I've had a chance to experience all audience sizes. At the end of the day, your audience wants your presence. They want you to be there in the moment with them. Whether you finish your slides or not is irrelevant. At the end of the day, they want you. And when you can lock in and be present with your audience, that's why it's so important that you be clear about not having a lot of notes and distractions. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to connect with your audience. And every time you're looking down at notes, every time you're looking down at your iPad, I don't care whether you got fancy notes or handwritten notes. The type of notes don't matter. If you have too many notes, you break connection with your audience.
Of
And every time you look down, you lose connection. And when you lose connection, you lose sales. So it's very, very important that you stay connected with your audience, you lock in. And actually, I love what you're talking about, because I mean, the things we're talking about is stuff, that's what work ethic is made of.
Yeah.
And you don't hear about work ethic on social media. You don't hear about RRSB, which is what I teach in my 5-day challenge, Monetize Your Message Challenge, which is the challenge that me and Les Brown do every single month. It is absolutely incredible. It's called the Monetize Your Message Challenge. One of the things we teach on day 2 of the challenge is all about RRSB, repeat, referral, spin-off business. 90% of the speakers that are crushing it are on RRSB, which is repeat, referral, spin-off business. Gigs beget more gigs. Doors beget more doors. Opportunities beget more opportunities. And so people like, well, I'm new. How do I? Listen, you better get your butt out there. You better do the circuit until you build a name for yourself, because here's the one thing that you cannot download and you cannot buy it from a coach, and that's demand. Demand is the one thing that you must create in the marketplace for yourself. You must create a suction, a thirst. People say this all the time. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Dr. Delatoro's addition to that famous quote is this: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, but you can and you must make that horse thirsty. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Every bar we go into, salty stuff. Why? To make you buy drinks. Every club keeps it super warm, very few napkins. Why? To make you buy more drinks. Every movie theater serves you sodium-based food. Why? To make you buy more drinks. Every theme park sells you sodium-based food. Why? To make you buy more drinks. The whole goal is to make the horse thirsty. So we have to create thirst in the marketplace. You got to understand that your presentation is the aspirin to some corporate headache. It's the Benadryl to some organizational allergies. So you got to get clear about what problem you solve. Every time a speaker comes to me and says, hey, I want to speak, I say, okay, what problem are you ready to solve? Because people aren't paying people just for motivation and inspiration. You have to solve a corporate challenge. Yeah. Post-pandemic, you got to solve something that they're dealing with. Yeah. Even if they don't cut you feel me?
Yeah, and that requires you to know what those challenges are and how they describe those challenges. I think that a self-centered marketer won't work. You have to know what language your clients use, not what language you use. You have to know what they're buying, not what you want them to buy. Right. And then you have to solve the problem well enough for them to refer you and continue to do business with you in the future. So I think speaking is an incredible way to make revenue. I think it's a great way to impact people, but it's still a relationship business. So you need to have deep rooted relationships with people, especially those who've already proven to want to do business with you.
That's right.
So there's no reason for you to start from the very beginning if you all are just starting out. Like, really think about, what have I already done? That's Where have I already gone? What education or expertise do I have? And when we are working with you guys and talking about the FAME method, which is covered in the Speak Your Way to Cash book, like, you already know, like, that is how you're going to determine where you should play in this space. That's right. But to the person who's new and they're like, well, I don't know if I can create demand because the demand isn't there. I don't have enough money to sustain speaking for free for years. There's tons of ways to create demand. So if you're already in corporate and you make a certain amount of money, you already have demand on your time. So if you can only take one engagement a month, that is a way to create demand. But your prospects won't know that you only take on one client a month unless you tell them and position it to them such that, hey, I only take one client a month. I've looked at your blank. I see that you need A, B, and C. I would love to set up a call to see if you could take our March spot. That's still creating a demand in the moment. So don't think, because I already know how y'all think, okay? I know my Speak Your Way to Cash family. And I know y'all gonna call me or message me and say, Dr. Delatoro said I gotta create demand, so I can't ask nobody to buy nothing yet because I don't have enough demand. There are tons of ways to create demand. Marketing.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I know you didn't say it, but I know my people.
You know your people.
Speak Your Way to Cash fam. And I know they're gonna, because there are some people have a problem for every solution. And there are other people who have a solution for every problem. So I want to take away the objection that is forming in your minds right now.
That's right.
That's why you cannot go out and do this. You absolutely can. There are several ways to create demand for yourself. And there are no excuses. Oh, and I would love to hear more about how you've been able to grow your mindset through challenges. Like, are there rituals that you have? Are there habits that you formed? Let me phrase it to you like this, because this can go either way. What are the 3 most effective habits that you formed as a speaker that has helped you to grow your business?
Fantastic question. I would say the first habit that's helped me to sustain is remembering from day one that I am a business person first. I'm a CEO first. I'm a speaker second. So, and I think a lot of times people get that wrong. They flip it and they're like, okay, I'm a speaker. And so they just want to speak. So they'll take any kind of fee. They'll take any kind of, they'll do it, for free forever, whatever. Because you got to be a business person first. I don't care what industry you're in. There is a business model behind it.
Yep.
So you want to become a CEO first. And so really kind of having that CEO mindset and really doing the things that CEOs do, teaming, figuring out your teaming, figuring out your finances, looking at your dollars every day, really getting clear about every dollar that comes into your speaking business does not come to you, getting clear from day one that I don't want all that money coming into my speaking industry coming directly to me personally on my personal tax return. Can I get a shout on that? Hello, right? Creating some separation between you and what you want to do by having a corporation, right? So really running a thriving business, having a CPA, having an accountant, having an attorney or retainer, handling your business like a CEO. So that's number one. Number two, learning from the best and constantly investing in myself at the level that I want the return. So for me, one of the things I've had a lot of lows. I've had a lot of lows in my 20 years, whether it's been personal lows or whether it's been career lows. I've had a lot of lows. But here's the thing. Most people in the public have no clue when I have a low. Why? Because my bounce back is insane.
Yeah.
And the reason why my bounce back is so strong is because I have quality mentors in my life who've also been through challenges as well. So when I'm going through something, they know I can reach out to them. I can call them. I can text them. I can get on a call. I can get 3 or 4 of them on a Zoom and they give me their wise counsel about how to handle a situation. Mm-hmm. I've also kept mastermind groups as a part of my success equation, which are peers that are on the journey with me. My book, Shift into a Higher Gear, Better Your Best and Live Life to the Fullest. Chapter 8 is called Shift Your Posse, because who you ride with matters. Yeah. In that book, I talk about how you need to have people around you. You have to have mentors, mates, and mentees. Mates are people who are on the journey with you, who can support you when you get a flat tire, metaphorically, who are there with you when you need an oil change in your business, metaphorically, right? When you need that transmission flush in your personal life, metaphorically, right? So if you have people with you who believe in you, when you fall, you got 6, 7 people picking you right back up again. Mm-hmm. But if you're a lone ranger, and you're out there by yourself, it's easy to get into an accident and stall and quit. So that's another huge part of my success equation, has been keeping amazing people around me who won't let me quit, who won't let me fail, who won't let me just kind of woe is me. They're like, okay, we got to get back up. We got to keep moving, right? Take a few days off, go to therapy, get a coach, whatever you got to do, but get back up again, brother. Go to some island for 5 days and let the team run the business, and you heal from that, and you woosah, and you journal, and go to a Tony Robbins event, go to a convention, a spiritual retreat, go spend time with Deepak Chopra, whatever you got to do. But when you get back from that, we getting back on the saddle, we rocking out, right?
Yeah.
And so that's been huge for me. So I really believe, number one, running your business like a CEO. Number two, consistently learning from the best and investing to learn from the best. And watch this. That investment might look different year over year. For example, you might put 20 grand in your business one year to learn to be a better presenter on stage. The next year, you might be putting that same 20 grand in learning Facebook ads.
Yep.
Right. The next year, you might put that same 20, 30, 40 grand in learning how to build the right team, investing in and having 4 or 5 people on your team who can take the business to the next level. Yeah. The following year, you might invest that same 20 grand in starting up your nonprofit. So now you can start to put some of your money from your career into your nonprofit. So you will constantly be reinvesting back into your business and your brand to grow it and to matriculate it.
Yeah.
And then the third piece is, again, having mastermind groups and people around me so that when I go through a challenging time, I got 6, 7, 8, 10 people on each arm, picking me right back up again. So even if I want to stay down, I don't get a chance to, because at the end of the day, most of us have to lead while we bleed. Well,
exactly. Right. Amen. Yeah. There's no way around it, especially if that's the part of leadership that I think a lot of people don't want. Is it's not just you're a leader, you're so popular, you're so liked, but sometimes when you're leading, you have to say things that are unpopular too.
That's right.
You have to do it when you don't feel like it. I have people who are like, oh, this happened in my life, that happened in my life. And I'm like, people never really consider that the same way life happens to you, life happens to leaders, and you never know because we consistently lead. I'm very big on, I think it was because my dad, he's in the midst of writing his first book, but he was someone who grew up in Robert Taylor homes, put his sisters through school. He's a pastor. He just never made excuses. Yeah. Mom wasn't around. Mom was on drugs. Dad was an alcoholic. All of these things he went through in his life, all of his siblings went through school. he worked 2 full-time jobs in college. I heard the story every day. So every time I would even try to complain, he'd be like, I'm sorry, you mad about your job and they paying you $300,000? I'm sorry, you're mad about what? And you got a roof over your head, you mad about? So I learned, like, as a kid, excuses are tools of the incompetent. Like, it's not something for me to do. And I think the great thing is my clients, I gave birth to my daughter. All my contracts were signed. All of my clients were handled at my law firm, and all of my speaking client contracts were handled, and everyone knew what was going on. Communication. But the downside of that is people assume that all that happened because you're lucky, not because you're resilient. When it's like, no, I make a dedicated choice to stay on the path of purpose, which is life, because life will always give you a door to exit that path. Someone will pass. That could be a door for you to get off the path and never come back on. Someone gets sick in your family. That could be a door to get off the path called life and never get back on. So life will always give you opportunities to stop. It is up to you to be resolved that no matter what happens, and everything will happen, that you're not going to get off that path, but it's a deliberate choice. It's not luck. People are choosing to take that path.
Yes. Good stuff, sis. Woo. Powerful. I love that. And you're so right. I say it like this. You got to be like a stamp. Stick to one thing until it delivers. The reason why Dr. Delatorro has become a household name, and I'm still working on that household name level, is because I've stuck with this for 20 years. I stuck with it when it was popular, when it wasn't, before social media. Now that social media is here, before the metaverse, now that the metaverse is here, right? I'm actually giving my first keynote in virtual reality in March. It's going to be a whole deal, right? Green screen, all this amazing stuff. And it's going to be, to be able to experience the keynote, people are going to have VR headsets. There's like 13,000 people going to be at this virtual conference in the financial services industry. And I'm so excited about it because we have to be able to keep up with the times, adjust with the times. Those who are flexible will win the game today. Those who are adaptable will win the game today. And so you have to learn how to be able to switch up your style. Scripture says this. Paul said, I became all things to all men that I might save some, which means we must become multifaceted. We got to be able to speak multiple languages. And some of y'all who come from a faith-based background, you haven't learned how to shift your cadence, the timbre, the tonality of your voice and your message to be able to speak to the marketplace. Some of y'all are anointed for the business community, but you haven't put yourself through the training that will allow you to be able to go into that space and speak an articulate, clear message and compel people in the business world with, watch this, with your message, not with your chapter and verse. You don't need to come over to corporate America with chapter and verse. Let the light do the work. Scripture says, let your light so shine. All I got to do is go into a corporate space and start being motivational, start being impactful, and people can sense that I'm a man of faith. I don't have to say Hebrews nothing. I ain't got to say Philippians nothing. I ain't got to say Judah nothing. I ain't got to say Genesis, Revel nothing. I ain't got to say that. The light does the work. Let your light shine before man so that they'll see what you're doing and give God all the credit for it. So at the end of the day, what we have to do has nothing to do with us. And that's another important part of it. I think a lot of speakers struggle because they think it's about them. And I say this to them all the time, and I'm known and famous for this. I say, I've never seen an apple tree eat its own apples. I'll wait. When was the last time you walked by an orange tree and you saw that orange tree reach down, grab an orange that fell off of it and eat it? The fruit that falls off of a tree was never meant for the tree. The fruit that falls off of your life was meant to bless and benefit humanity. So get over yourself. How asinine is it for an orange tree to say, oh, I don't have perfect abs, so I can't produce fruit? How asinine is it for an orange tree to say, you know what, my bark is a little bit ashy today. I don't really feel, no, nobody cares about that stuff.
Yeah.
They want the fruit.
Yep.
It is your job to be fruitful and multiply. It is your job to produce. And when you produce from a good place, you will be able to nourish humanity. You will create the demand and people will line up to work with you.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. This is the stuff that we talk about. I wrote a book 2 years ago, actually called Platinum Presentations. When Warren Buffett went on record to say that his public speaking courses were the most important business skill he ever developed, I said, okay, I need to write a book about the actual skill that I've used and millions of others use. It amazes me how we go to conferences and we sit and listen to 10 speakers and nobody actually has the conversation about the skill that these speakers are using to teach the content that they're teaching.
Yes.
So you went to Grant Cardone for 4 days and you learned all this other stuff, but nobody talked about presentation, persuasion, articulation, the sales process,
storytelling,
right? Open body close, memorization, NLP. Nobody talked about that the whole time. That was the number one skill being used on you the entire conference.
Yeah. But that comes from not just looking at what people are doing, but analyzing the why, looking at what they're not doing, looking at what they're not saying. And every time I join a program, because last year, I think it was well over $150,000 in professional development. Now, based on where my company is going, that makes sense for me. I'm not telling y'all to go spend six figures and you haven't made any money. But I will say this, when I join programs from people when I admire their sales process. So if I like the way you sold, I may join just because I learn more from how people do things, what they present to me, how they show up, how they present different topics, the things they repeat over time, than they will ever teach in their program. Because that may not even be what the program is about. And sometimes proximity to greatness, proximity to a particular skill set, if you go in knowing you're not just learning from what they say, but you're learning from what they don't say. And maybe it's the trial lawyer in me, because I'd be doing trials and cross-examining the witness. You have to get really, really good at asking exceptional questions.
Yes.
If you get coached by great people, and if any of you all are in like our programs, you're coached by great people, you should get really good at asking good questions.
That's right. That's right.
That's going to help you so much more than just going through the program, doing the work. Like, get good at asking really great questions. So then you can ask questions that they're not even, like, the program may not even be about that particular topic, but ask, because a great coach isn't going to just be like, oh, that's not in module 5. I'm not going to tell you. Because great coaches want to teach their people how to think, not just how to do. If you learn how to do and don't learn how to think, you'll memorize stuff, but you won't be able to utilize it for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
And that's what any great program does. It gives you skills to use for the rest of your life. You have to learn how to think. Yeah,
you're right. So exceptionally true. I mean, dead on. Absolutely spot on. I love it. If they just take what they've just got, I mean, this has been a masterclass, y'all. This is a masterclass up in here. When I tell you, and so this is why I'm so passionate about the work that we're doing with the Monetize Your Message Challenge, because we're helping people with this concept and also their money mindset. Don't step into the speaking industry unless you're willing to graduate your money mindset. Brian Tracy says like this: you will never be able to out-earn your own self-concept. You have to shift how you see yourself, how you view yourself. And if you're going to step out in here and do this industry at the level that you really desire to do it, and you got to upgrade your money psychology. So I want to encourage people, if you guys really want to take it to the next level, come check out our Monetize Your Message Challenge. It's monetizeyourmessagechallenge.com. That's monetizeyourmessagechallenge.com. We do it every month. It's a 5-day challenge to help people leverage public speaking and presentation skills to get more clients, contacts, contracts, and cash. And I don't know any entrepreneur who doesn't want more clients, contacts, contracts, and cash. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah. It's really awesome stuff, Ashley.
Awesome. And then so you all can check out the Monetize Your Message Challenge, and then where can they find you on Instagram and your website? Give them those handles as well.
Absolutely. So we're at Dr. Delatorro, DrDelatorro. That's at Dr. DrDelatorro, Dr. Delatorro, on all social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all of it, right? We're on all of those platforms. So can't wait to YouTube, all of it. So can't wait to connect with you there as well. We have our own podcast called Crushing Life with Delatorro. So find us on your favorite podcasting platform and check out our podcast episodes. They're absolutely bananas. Our new book, Shift into a Higher Gear, Better Your Best, and Live Life to the Fullest. You can grab it on Amazon or Audible. I actually went in studio, spent 5 hours in studio recording the audiobook to this book. So it's not some actor reading it. It's actually me. And you will absolutely adore the audiobook version of this. So pick up the book on Amazon, pick it up on Audible. And we also have a companion workbook that we produced at the same time that the book came out. And you can pick up the workbook on shiftintoahighergear.com. And so we're really, really excited about that. Just making great things happen and just really, really taking folks' lives to the next level. And my annual conference is coming up too, Ashley. It's coming up at the end of June. On my 45th birthday, I'm doing my annual conference, which is called the Full Throttle Experience. It's the #1 experiential personal development conference for high achievers. It's being held in Clearwater Beach, Florida, June 29th through July 3rd. And so we're telling everybody to stay over one extra day to watch fireworks on the beach on July 4th. But it's going to be an incredible 4-day conference. People can learn all about that by going to fullthrottle2022.com. That's fullthrottle2022.com. That's the conference that inspired my new best-selling book. So we're pumped about it.
All right, great. Well, you have a lot of ways to connect with Dr. Delatorro. We appreciate your time on the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. And thank you so much, Speak Your Way to Cash fam, for listening in. If you love this episode, please do rate us on Apple Podcasts. You all know we have the Pitch Your Way to Cash challenge coming up in March. We do it once a quarter. And then the Speak Your Way to Cash live event waitlist is live now. Tickets go on sale March 1st. They are limited in-person seats, so please, please, please make sure you are by your email on March 1st, 2022. And thereafter, if tickets are still available, you can go to speakingreadycash.com/event and get your tickets there. All right, so I'm excited about what you all learned today. Listen to this episode 3 times. Take notes. Implement one thing you learned. And if nothing else, remember that you have the power to change your own life. There is nothing outside of you that can keep you from doing what you are called to do in this earth. So be encouraged, be inspired, and know that one pitch can literally change everything. All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much, Dr. Delatorro, for joining us on the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
Honor indeed. God bless.
All right, wasn't that interview amazing? If you're anything like me, you have pages full of notes. But here's the thing. Before you head out, I want you to go to facebook.com and join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. That is where I am. That's where a ton of other speakers are, a ton of other people who listen to the show. We all congregate there and chat. And it's 100% free. Now, if you're ready to take your speaking career to the next level, I have 2 ways for you to do that. One, you can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC live replay and pick up the live replay. That training is 7 modules, chock full of information. It's crazy. Go over there, read all about it. Or if you want a more personal experience, you already know that you want to be a speaker. You're ready to fully commit and you want someone to walk you through it and save you tons of time Googling and doing it on your own, then book a VIP day with me. You can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com, scroll down until you see the VIP day section and get more information on that there. All right. Thank you guys again for watching. Please do not forget to leave us a review. That is how we keep this train rolling and get some of the best speakers in the world to get on this show. So please, please, please leave a review. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and Facebook in the Speak Your Way to Cash group, Instagram at the Ashley Nicole Show. And I'd be more than happy to chat with you and say hi. All right, y'all have an awesome, awesome day.